Joining us now, former Congressman North Carolina Mark Walker. He didn't run again in 2020 to run for the U.S. Senate because he knew there was going to be open seat. And rather than deceive the public running for Congress and running for Senate, he said, no, I'm going to put all my eggs in the U.S. Senate basket. I want to win this race for North Carolinians. I want to be sure that I tip the balance of power in 2022 back to the Republicans and not Chuck Schumer and the far left liberals. So he runs for U.S. Senate. He's a MAGA movement, America First conservative, never wavered, was with Trump at the beginning, also a big supporter of our good friend Matt Cawthorn, the congressman in the wheelchair, the young fellow who we endorsed on the show and had him on numerous times during his race for Congress. Oddly enough, a shocker, Laura Trump decides not to run for U.S. Senate. That's fine. Maybe she'll be back at another time. And at the convention on Saturday, President Trump, with 15 minutes before he's about to take the stage, tells everybody that he's endorsing Congressman Ted Budd. Now, Ted Budd's a good guy. I've never had him on my show. He was never really seen as one of the leaders of the America First movement like Mark Walker was. So what is up with Ted Budd? Why do we get an endorsement from President Trump 15 minutes before he gets on the stage at the North Carolina convention? How does that make sense? Well, now we find out that it was Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, whose wife, Mrs. Meadows, endorsed Matt Cawthorn's opponent in that race. She was the establishment candidate. She was friends with the Meadows. Mrs. Meadows worked very hard for her. Mark Walker endorsed Matt Cawthorn, who ended up winning, who we endorsed as well. So is this payback? What is this? Is this just settle another score inside baseball from more Trump advisors that have sent him down the primrose path? We got to find this out. Joining us now, Congressman Mark Walker, who should have had the endorsement from President Trump, the favorite of the MAGA movement. Joining us now, Congressman, I'm just going to be frank straight out. You got screwed on Saturday. What's the deal here?
Well, first of all, I'm impressed with your insight, John. You are paying attention to this situation. I carry no animosity, but you are correct. But I'm going to back up just one more moment, if I could, and talk about where this got sideways with the former chief of staff. And that is when 2 months after the president and vice president were inaugurated, I was chairman of the largest caucus, conservative caucus in Congress, the Republican Study Committee. I picked up the phone and I called Vice President Pence. And I said, if you will co-host these meetings with me, I will get everybody in the room and I'll do something that Republicans have been promising for years. Now, granted, this was only my second term, but I became the first member in history to be elected to chair this committee, and I was going to do something with it. So I reached out to him and I said, I'll get everybody in the room and we'll do two things. We'll repeal Obamacare and we'll defund Planned Parenthood. He said, Mark, I'm in. Over the next 3 weeks, we got it done. I remember being called late one night by the president and the White House, and they said, can you and your team of 13 or 14 members be here in the Oval Office the next morning? We showed up. Vice President Pence greeted me. The president wanted me to sit next to him, and there's a great picture of the president and I in the very moment that we repealed Obamacare and defunded Planned Parenthood. I get a call 2 days later from the president, very upset with Mr. Meadows, because they had come in and submarined the deal because that he did not get the attention on it. And I've never shared this publicly, frankly, but I'm at a place where people need to know the truth. He was very upset with me, the president, that is, and it took us 6 months to get it back together. By that time, as you remember, John McCain, the Senate, got sick, voted it down. But we really literally had a moment to do something, had it done in the House. I had 40 people in that meeting. I didn't invite Kevin McCarthy or Paul Ryan, not throwing too much shade here, but I needed to get the people in there that were these early on MAGA people who understood America first. I've tried to mend those fences. And then to your point, when I became the only member of Congress who came out and endorsed Madison Cawthorn because of his America first priorities, it created more enmity there. So when President Trump who was obviously being coerced by Mark Meadows to make this endorsement. It was disappointing. It doesn't deter me from what we have to do, but it is the politics within the politics. Unfortunately, sometimes even President Trump gets bad advice.